As seen in the previous video, decision making need not be all that straightforward. So we have the same spreadsheet over here, same data set, but then we are trying to apply an additional condition. So the same thing applies. We need to define a particular transaction as high or low, but it will be based on two conditions. That is, the revenue has to be greater than or equal to the average revenue, and it also has to have a profit margin greater than 15%. Okay, so let's try and apply this into our formula. So the first thing that we need to ensure is whether any of these, which of these transactions are actually proving true for both these conditions, right? So instead of directly applying the if function, we are going to apply a logical function called AND. So this is a very interesting function by which you can return a Boolean value. It does not extract a value. It will check multiple logical conditions and it will find out whether those conditions are true or false. So in this particular scenario, we are using the AND function. So with the AND function, whatever logical conditions we provide to it, all of them have to be true for it to return a true Boolean value. If any one of them ends up being false, it will return a false value. So considering what we want to achieve, both the criterias should return true. So that is why we are applying the AND function. So let's go about applying it. So let's say the first logical condition is the revenue should be greater than or equal to the average revenue. So I'm just going to freeze this particular cell, right? And then I'm going to comma separate it with the next logical condition, that is the profit margin for that particular transaction has to be greater than the value of 15, which has been defined over here. Okay, I'm going to freeze that cell as well. And now if I execute this, there you go. So I get true or false value. So let's just inspect the first transaction over here. The average revenue, okay, so the revenue is basically greater than the average revenue. So the first condition is true, but then the second condition returns false. So as we had understood with the AND function, both of them, both the logical conditions or all the logical conditions that we apply into the function has to return true for it to display a true value. So it displays false because the second condition returned false. So let's take the third one over here. The revenue is greater than the average revenue. That's perfect. And the profit margin is also greater than 15. So it returns true. So that's fine. So with the AND function, we are able to actually find out whether the criteria returns true or false. So we can actually combine this now with the if function. So I'm just going to cut this out and I'm going to start with the if function. So the first thing it asks is the logical test. So we have already worked on the logical test. So I'm just going to copy paste the AND function that we worked on. So that will return the logical result, whether it's true or false. And then if that is true, it is going to be marked as high. If it is false, it is going to be marked as low. So this is the best way of going about it. And there you go. Now we have all the values properly marked out as low and high, right? So this is how you would use the AND function. So we'll just also go through the OR function. So with the OR function, any one of them should stand true. That means either the revenue has to be greater than or equal to the average revenue, or the profit has to be greater than 15. So if any one of them is true, it will display it as true. It will return true. Or if both of them are not achieved, if both the conditions are not true, it will return false. Okay, so I'm just going to replace this to OR. Now look at that. See, the first transaction is now showing as high because at least one of the logical conditions stand true. So depending on what you're trying to achieve, you will either use the AND function or the OR function here. So there are also few other logical operators which I would want you to try, but more often you will either use the AND or OR in most scenarios, and you can combine it with the if function to actually extract or to display a value that you're looking for.